Desperation in Santiago streets leads to riots with police. Hungry protesters in Chile clash over growing tensions in the country over food shortages in the midst of the lockdown. The president of Chile is promising to take historic action.
If anybody else were promoting it, they'd say this is the greatest thing ever.
President Trump blasts back, battling critics of an unproven anti-malaria drug he says he's taking to prevent COVID-19, telling reporters today it was his decision to make. The latest on the search for a vaccine and a status report on the nearly 24 states that opened up weeks ago. ABC News has new data on what the new cases there show. A warning from police tonight to slow down. They say less traffic is leading to more deadly crashes at higher speeds. A look at what's being done. Addiction in isolation, how many in recovery are struggling to stay sober. And what if you don't have an addiction, but you're afraid you're developing one? Some ways for you to check in. New video of the deceased husband of the mother charged in the disappearance of her 2 children. Why he told police he was afraid for his life. And it was one of the president's biggest campaign promises to build the wall. So as we approach Election Day, a status check on the border wall with Mexico. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. The warnings are numerous, and they are coming fast and furious from the FDA, from members of his own task force, and physicians across the country. But today, President Trump defended his use of an unproven drug to prevent coronavirus. He is dismissing both studies and suggestions that there could be bad outcomes with hydroxychloroquine, insisting he knows better. The president is also adamant that it is not necessary for him to wear a mask. Now, that's actually something the CDC and health officials around the world say is effective in helping to prevent the spread. So many are now questioning why the president continues to tout a drug that, if used incorrectly, could potentially be fatal. Our senior White House correspondent, Cecilia Vega, leads us off.
Arriving at the White House today, coronavirus response coordinator Dr. Deborah Birx ignored the question.
Do you have any concerns about President Trump using hydroxychloroquine?
Isn't it great that it's not going to break?
That after President Trump's surprise announcement he's taking the anti-malaria drug hydroxychloroquine as a preventative measure against COVID-19.
I'm taking it, hydroxychloroquine.
The drug has not been proven effective against the coronavirus, but on Capitol Hill today, President Trump refused to back down.
Why is it okay for you to promote the use of this drug when you're not a doctor and health experts are warning?
Well, I've worked with doctors, and it gives you an additional level of safety, but you can ask many doctors are in favor of it. And so, again, this is an individual decision to make.
But the FDA has explicitly warned against using hydroxychloroquine for COVID treatment outside hospitals or clinical trials. Infectious disease specialist Dr. Joseph Rahimian tells us it could have dangerous side effects.
However, there is a potential for cardiac abnormalities, abnormal heart rhythm, eye issues, retinopathy, and those are all possible with its use.
Even one Fox News host warning.
This is a leap that should not be taken casually by those watching at home or assuming, well, the President of the United States says it's okay.
Still, the White House released a statement from the president's own doctor saying, quote, after numerous discussions, we concluded the potential benefit from the treatment outweighed the relative risks. One of the president's valets tested positive, so did the vice president's press secretary. But Pence says hydroxychloroquine is not for him.
My physician has not recommended that, but I wouldn't hesitate to take the counsel of my doctor, or any American should do likewise.
Later, during a cabinet meeting, the president defended his decision.
Just talking about as a line of defense, I'm dealing with a lot of people. Look at all the people in the room. You know, I'm the president, and I'm dealing with a lot of people.
Calling on his Health and Human Services secretary to back him up.
We are still working on some controlled studies earlier in the disease progression to see if we can measure the effectiveness of it in preventing the replication of the virus and spread in mild to moderate cases rather than the more serious, and that data is still pending.
And it's got, well, it's got very good reviews. Very good from many, many doctors.
Cecilia Vega joins us now. Cecilia, we saw Dr. Birx avoiding comment on the president's use of this drug, and Secretary Azar said that the data is still pending. Is there any concern in the White House that the president is leaning into this without the science to back him up?
Yeah, Lindsay, you know this because you've been following this White House as much as I have. Speaking out publicly against President Trump isn't something that you see happen all too often. But what we are hearing from inside the administration is people who are not necessarily defending the president's decision to take hydroxychloroquine, but basically to say, look, he's consulted with his doctor has approved this, and this is within his right. The president right now, Lindsay, is really leaning into this decision. I hate the phrase doubling down, but that is exactly what he has been doing on this one. He says that he started taking it because those two staffers in the White House contracted COVID-19. He was in close proximity to them. He says he's been feeling no side effects since he started taking the drug. And really, he believes that the drug has become political because he's the one who's been endorsing it. But Lindsay, I got to tell you, we've heard from so many doctors. I know you've talked to them. Of course, that warning from the FDA, and they are warning of the potential dangers of taking this drug if you do it outside of a hospital or a clinical trial.
For sure. Okay, Cecilia Vega, thanks so much again for your reporting. And while trials on the drug hydroxychloroquine continue, a massive push is underway to find a vaccine for COVID-19 and then get it to market. And as this worldwide effort takes shape, there may be some good news tonight from a new study that looks at the question that is top of mind for so many of us. Can you get COVID-19 twice? Our Alex Perez has more.
Tonight, an encouraging turn in the battle against the pandemic after fears that virus patients in South Korea had gotten it a second time. The South Korean CDC thinks it's likely that people cannot be infected twice. But that conclusion is still preliminary, and they don't know how long that immunity would last. Those scientists are pointing to those relapsing cases, now saying they were actually due to testing failures.
These results are very encouraging and should be very reassuring to the public that once you get infected with COVID-19, it's unlikely that you're going to get infected again.
277 recovered South Korean patients had tested positive for a second time, along with patients in China and Japan. This prompted fears the virus was mutating so quickly that people were not immune to catching it again. The South Korean CDC calling those test results false positives. In addition, they're saying those patients were no longer infectious because the traces of the virus detected were actually harmless dead samples. Tonight, the race to find a vaccine to prevent the spread is on. Pharmaceutical giant Pfizer is running Operation Lightspeed. Phase 1 and Phase 2 trials underway simultaneously. 330 people getting the experimental vaccine at the University of Maryland, NYU, and in Germany.
We're just throwing everything we have at it to make it happen.
At this plant in Kalamazoo, Michigan, manufacturing is ramping up even before having the vaccine. 75 workers are essentially sequestered, working around the clock, so once it's developed.
The goal is to have 10 million doses available commercially by year end.
And in 2021, they hope to manufacture 200 million doses. But there are major challenges in handling the vaccine that are still being worked on.
We have to be able to freeze it, handle it under frozen conditions, so we have people working to design a facility to do that.
And Alex Perez joins us now with more. Alex, this study in South Korea says that those reinfections were actually false positives. But are there any indications at all that you can get coronavirus a second or third time?
Well, Lindsay, the quickest answer to your question, based on what we know from medical authorities here in the U.S., is we don't know just yet. But in South Korea, they feel so strongly about these new results that they're actually doing away with a requirement that people who at one point tested positive now have to test negative, would have to test negative before returning to school or work. Authorities in South Korea have done away with that requirement because they feel so strongly about their current testing and these results that they found now. Lindsay?
Still so much we don't know. Alex Perez, thanks so much. And as we've been reporting, educators across the country are struggling with the uncertainty of how to reopen safely. Most college campuses shuttered in mid-March as COVID-19 spread around the world. Now officials at universities of various sizes and locations across the country are grappling with how to reopen campuses and hold classes in the fall. This week, some schools began announcing their plans for the next academic year. Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska was a trailblazer in doing so, one of the first to announce when and how they'll reopen. Creighton's president, Daniel Hendrickson, joins us now with more about that. Father Hendrickson, thanks so much for being here.
Lindsay, thanks for the invitation. Glad to join you.
So you announced in a letter yesterday that Creighton is adjusting the academic calendar to hopefully reopen safely. Tell us more about what that modified schedule looks like.
Well, what it does is it maintains the academic hours that we need for course completion for the entire semester. It compresses it just a bit. It lets us begin our academic season just a little bit earlier and of course, to end earlier. And I think that'll achieve two things for us. One is that this gets us a bit ahead of the cold and flu season, Lindsay, that we know will come in, into our lives anyway. And that's going to be confusing as we've all negotiated concerns around this terrible pandemic and if people are sick or what it means. We know we'll have colds and flus in late November and early December. And so getting ahead of that and off campus and done with the semester seems very attractive. And then secondly, in doing this, by opening early and ending early, we're eliminating 2 full travel cycles in and out of campus. And we have kids from 52 nations around the world and most states in the U.S. And so all of those kids would go home for fall break. They'd all go home for Thanksgiving, or, a lot of them, the majority of them, and then be returning to the university from various geographical locales. So we're eliminating those 2 travel cycles. So we can complete a full semester, get the intensified learning to happen, get the kids in the classrooms and get them out.
So you say that students won't return to campus after Thanksgiving break to avoid spreading a second wave of the virus in late November and December. But flu season can begin as soon and as early as October. And we don't know yet exactly what COVID-19 seasonality is like. So what would you do if we start to see a possible second spike earlier than what you're planning for?
Well, we'll certainly continue to maintain a lot of the policies and protocols we're seeing. We're looking at a lot of data and science along the way. We're a community full of all the healthcare programs in medicine, dentistry, therapies, nursing. So we've got a lot of experts on the ground. We have our own epidemiologist. We've got a healthcare enterprise, CHI Health. So we're in conversations with a lot of those experts looking at data and science. Some of the on-the-ground things that we'll be implementing would be daily online screening. And we can ask students to log their temperatures, to indicate if they're coughing or if they have symptoms. We have other things that we can do around thermotechnology and temperature checks. We have face coverings that we'll be asking students to wear. Social distancing, of course, which is so many of us are already practicing to begin with. So a lot of these safety protocols that we'll be implementing for the return of our students.
Curious to know why you decided that you would for sure be back open for classes in the fall. As you know, some other schools have decided that it's just not in the cards.
At least for right now, and so we learned that in March, when we went online and did that rather quickly, we did it very effectively. It just worked so well. We have a lot of students, faculty, and staff who do want to be back on our campus, in the classrooms, in-person instruction. We provide that intensive environment here on this campus to begin with research programs and clinical opportunities. So people are really looking for that on-campus engagement, which we want to provide to them. I think starting early and preventing, getting ahead of the flu season is going to be helpful. And we know that if we have to rotate on a dime and go remote, we will. We've done it once before. We can do it again. We can do it even more effectively.
And lastly, do you think that you've been given enough guidelines from the government as far as how to keep your school safe?
We look at guidelines from multiple sources, from the government, locally and nationally. We've got key websites that we're looking at for expertise, for science, and for data. So lots of different sources of information, including our own professionals on this campus.
Father Hendrickson, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Lindsay.
And as states ease restrictions, police across the country are reporting a surge in reckless driving. With so many fewer people on the roads, the temptation to speed is greater, and so are the incidents of fatal crashes. Gio Benitez has this story.
Tonight, with dramatically fewer people on the roads because of stay-at-home orders, a new urgent warning. Police all across the country are seeing more and more dangerous scenes like these. Car after car speeding through red lights and ending up in some serious wrecks.
As we move toward a new normal, we need to get there safely. Don't speed. Don't drive distracted.
In some parts of the country, street racing is also up. Just this past weekend, police in Atlanta made 44 arrests. And the potentially deadly behavior is tying up some critical medical resources.
Our nation is dealing with an unprecedented pandemic. And people should not be taking to the roads and thinking that it's a time to go on joyrides and driving 100 miles an hour.
So to find out how fast drivers are going, we hit the roads with Connecticut State Police. It took just a few minutes for Trooper Kurt Booker to make his first traffic stop.
Good morning, folks. I'm Trooper Booker from the State Police. The reason why I stopped you, got you 93. Is there any justification for your speed today?
We're on I-91 here in Connecticut, and we are seeing so many people go very, very fast. This particular car was going 93 miles per hour. The speed limit, 65.
Trooper Josu Durelis says traffic here has gone down by 50%, but accident deaths are going up.
Fatal motor vehicle accidents have gone up about 40% or so.
40%?
Correct, 40%.
Yeah, that's pretty shocking.
It definitely is.
We are seeing similar concerns all across the country.
Certainly traffic volumes dictate rate of speed, and there is something to be said for what we'd call that herd mentality.
In Minnesota, crashes and deaths have more than doubled compared to the same period in previous years. And just look at these images from Iowa: 106, 108, 111, even 131 miles per hour. California issuing nearly 2,500 tickets for drivers going over 100 miles per hour. But the question is, why?
Some people might be feeling cooped up and think of it as a stress relief. Some people may have wanted to do this their whole lives, and now they see the roads have opened up a bit, and they're taking advantage of the situation.
I asked Trooper Booker.
Most of these people are driving according to how the car feels.
And it turns out there are so many people speeding that police can't stop everyone.
We're seeing a lot of cars that are going pretty fast, probably more than that speed limit. How do you choose which ones to stop?
Well, our primary goal is to identify, locate, and stop the more egregious drivers. In Connecticut, on 91 in particular, various areas of 91, for the most part, the speed limit is 65 miles an hour. And we're finding that there's been a 90% increase of vehicles traveling over 80 miles an hour, which is an extremely reckless thing to do.
Now signs like this one are popping up from coast to coast, reminding drivers that slowing down saves lives. For ABC News Live, I'm Gio Benitez in Middletown, Connecticut.
Our thanks to Gio for that. Now to the president's firing of State Department Inspector General Steve Linick. Just the latest instance of the president removing a watchdog in recent months. The chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee told ABC News the State Department Inspector General's office was investigating the administration's emergency declaration to supply weapons to Saudi Arabia in 2019 and whether Secretary Pompeo used staff to run personal errands like walking the family dog, picking up dry cleaning, and making dinner reservations. The president raised eyebrows responding to that claim yesterday.
And maybe he's negotiating with Kim Jong-un, okay, about nuclear weapons so that he'd say, please, could you walk my dog? And you know what? I'd rather have him on the phone with some world leader than have him wash dishes because maybe his wife isn't there or his kids are there. What are you telling me? It's terrible.
We'll let those comments speak for themselves. The president also said that Mike Pompeo himself was the one who requested that the inspector general be fired.
I never even heard of him, but I was asked to by the State Department, by Mike. Never heard of him, but they asked me to terminate him. I have the absolute right as president to terminate. I said, who appointed him? And they said, President Obama. I said, look, I'll terminate him. I don't know what's going on other than that, but you'd have to ask Mike Pompeo. But they did ask me to do it, and I did it.
Okay, for more on this, let's bring in ABC News Chief Global Affairs Correspondent Martha Raddatz. Martha, first just explain the significance of Pompeo being the one who requested this removal of the Inspector General. Is that supposed to happen, and how is Secretary Pompeo explaining this?
You know, the IGs are generally kind of the untouchable in any department. They are there as watchdogs to look out for corruption, malfeasance, make sure that taxpayer dollars are going to something they should go to. And in this case, Pompeo himself, according to what you were just talking about, according to the House Foreign Affairs Committee, was being looked into in this case. So to have Pompeo ask for the removal of that IG IG certainly did raise eyebrows. Now, Pompeo said he doesn't know and didn't know about the investigations. He said the only investigation he's ever known about with the IG, he knew about 24, 48 hours before it was released to the public.
And Congress has also passed explicit requirements for how an inspector general can be removed. Explain those and how members of Congress are responding to this.
Well, even Republicans are saying they want an explanation as to why Linick was fired. Susan Collins of Maine said it is not a sufficient justification to say that he simply lost confidence as the co-author of that law, and I know that's not what he intended. We intended a more fulsome explanation. There are investigations that will be started. They will likely talk to Linick. They will likely ask people from the State Department and others what exactly was the situation there, and I'm sure they'll get some sort of explanation. The real thing is, though, Donald Trump can fire Linick. He did fire Linick, and it is very unlikely that will change.
Martha, before you go, got to get your thoughts about the president's comments about Pompeo's wife not doing the dishes.
Well, you said it raised eyebrows. It certainly raised a lot of eyebrows when Susan Pompeo is not home every day doing the dishes. She is an accomplished woman. She is actually a special advisor at the State Department. One wonders if it was a female Secretary of State, whether Donald Trump would say that about the man being home. I'll just say to that, well, we'll have to see about that one. I'll leave it there.
All right, Martha Raddatz, thanks so much. Well, Washington has largely been focused on the pandemic in recent months. The president's priorities have moved forward, including construction work on new barriers at our border with Mexico. And the Washington Post now reports this evening that a North Dakota construction firm has received the largest border wall contract ever awarded, a $1.3 billion deal to build 42 miles of black painted fencing in southern Arizona. So we wanted to get a reality check on what's being done on the president's signature promise to build that wall and what impact it's having along our southern border. Here's ABC's Terry Moran.
Who's going to pay for the wall? Who's going to pay for the wall?
It's the touchstone of Trumpism, President Trump's signature campaign pledge from 2016.
Build that wall. Build that wall.
Build a wall along the southern U.S. border to stop illegal immigration. 3.5 years later, some sections of wall have been built, about 180 miles or so. And President Trump is pressing on. Construction has not slowed during the coronavirus pandemic. The Trump administration releasing this footage of steel barriers being erected near Tucson in late March.
Appreciate everyone coming out.
Acting Secretary of Homeland Security Chad Wolf left his Washington headquarters last week for a tour of the wall's progress in Arizona.
What that border wall system provides the men and women of the Border Patrol is that increased impedance and denial, and it allows them to move resources to other areas of the border that are very difficult to patrol. And so that's critically important. With a limited workforce, we need to make sure that our resources are being used effectively.
Since the end of February, some 50 miles of barriers has been built. That figure accounts for more than a quarter of all border wall construction completed under the Trump presidency, according to an ABC News review of federal government data. Trump has promised more than 500 miles of border wall by early next year, but the reality, only about 3 miles of new barrier where none previously existed have been built by the Trump administration so far, with lawsuits from private property owners delaying the federal land acquisition process. But the U.S. border is hardening under Trump. More than 157 miles of wall have replaced smaller, older structures, guardrails and wire mesh fences replaced with towering steel beams. In these areas, crews are working to build up security infrastructure, complete with access roads and lighting. Nowhere is the construction impact clearer than near the Lukeville port of entry in southern Arizona. ABC News traveled there in February before nationwide pandemic shutdown orders. Tucson Sector Division Chief Daniel Parra has studied this landscape since stepping into his current role last year.
With the new system, you'll have technology that not only will detect the incursions, but with the additional lighting, we'll also have an opportunity to get a good sense of what not only is happening on this side of the border, but also what potential threats might be on the south side. We can redeploy our forces where we might not have some of this technology, or it might be a little bit more difficult to patrol.
So this is the existing fence between the United States and Mexico. So these kind of breaches, these happen almost daily. This is one way that this wall is being defeated, and that just really makes it important for us to update our infrastructure the way we are with the new border wall system.
Where a so-called vehicle barrier designed to stop the illegal crossing of cars and trucks once stood, now massive panels of 30-foot steel beams get anchored into the ground. But in the wall's path lands with ancestral ties to the Tohono O'odham Native American tribe.
So now we're forced to have to accept a wall that divides our nation. Our land is what keeps us humble, happy, peaceful people.
The Trump administration has issued waivers for several environmental and cultural heritage protection laws in specific areas designated for wall construction.
As far as I'm concerned, the wall crossed our people. We didn't cross the wall.
Construction crews in southern Arizona conducted controlled blasts earlier this year along Monument Hill, a peak that straddles the border on the outskirts of the National Organ Pipe Wildlife Preserve.
Fire in the hole!
The same day of the detonations in February, the Tohono O'odham tribe's chairman sat before Congress.
It's hard to see the blasting that you showed on the video today, because I know in my heart and what our elders have told us and what we have learned, that area is home to our ancestors. And by blasting and doing what we saw today has totally disturbed, totally forever damaged our people.
Environmental advocates have spent months in this remote corner of desert documenting the plowing and excavation and demanding more protections for animal and plant life. Customs and Border Protection officials have insisted that environmental standards are being followed and that they are doing more than required.
We've made our best attempt to really broaden, who we talk to get information, not just federal partners, state partners, lots of, professionals that have good information about, what could potentially be affected by what we're doing out here.
But concerns remain about the water level in a nearby spring. Heavy machinery in the area using an average of 84,000 gallons of water every day, according to CBP. Another feature of the nearby wildlife preserve, the saguaro cactus. Hundreds have been pulled from the ground to make way for new access roads. While CBP says most are replanted elsewhere, the excavation has advocates crying foul.
They are stunningly beautiful plants. Each one of them has individual character. Each one of them is a living piece of natural history. And it is disgraceful. It makes me feel sick to see them butchered and chopped up.
An ancient landscape of people and nature slowly transformed by the wall. Terry Moran, ABC News, Washington.
Our thanks to Terry for that report. And when we come back, managing addiction is a lifelong battle and one that's only gotten more difficult during this pandemic. We bring you a closer look at how people are coping and the new tools available to help with recovery. That mysterious illness impacting children takes a heartbreaking turn for one Maryland family, and new allegations of harassment leveled at the police department that handled the case of Ahmaud Arbery. The full story in just a moment.
Most powerful stories of our time, anytime. Nightline.
Your mom said, comb your hair. Your dad told you, smarten up. Your dog is judging you right now. And your best friend just called you crazy. We all need someone who'll pull no punches and give it to us straight. Now imagine getting your news like that. No bull, no spin, just give it to me straight. Straightforward news. Straight to the heart of the story. ABC News, straightforward.
The Americans here on the ground and the Iraqis, 18,000 tons.
Batatas. Ismail? David.
Over ground zero from Hurricane Michael.
You can see just home after home.
David, good to meet you.
This was your view.
My favorite view.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good morning, sunshine.
Good morning. Good morning. Oh, I'm grateful you woke up this morning.
Good morning, sunshine.
Good morning, sunshine. We've been waiting for you. Say good morning. Good morning, sunshine. In America. Say good morning. I want you to wake me up.
Right now, how do you make sense of it all? Now, afternoons on ABC, one place with the good information you need.
We are all in this together, and we're going to get through this together.
Pandemic, what you need to know. Afternoons at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific on ABC.
We turn now to Ahmaud Arbery, the young black man fatally shot while jogging through a mostly white neighborhood. A newly surfaced video of him from 2017 is now getting some attention, but it is unrelated to his killing or the murder cases against Gregory and Travis McMichael. Here's ABC's Steve Osinsami.
What's your name? What is it?
Lawyers for the family of Ahmaud Arbery worry that these police camera videos that have suddenly surfaced from 2017 will appeal to racist stereotypes of young black men. The shooting victim's family says that this one shows another instance where the former high school athlete was seen as suspicious, this time by Glenn County police, who see him sitting alone in his car and suspect drugs.
I'm not here to ruin your day. I'm here to look for any kind of criminal activity. That's all I'm doing.
Criminal activity? I'm in a park. I work. Talking about.
Another officer arrives, pulling out a stun gun.
I think I see something plastic in the thing over here.
Go ahead, bro. You can't go in my car.
You're not allowing me to search your car?
You can't go in my.
I'm not asking you. Just don't reach the car.
Get your hand out of your pocket.
Hands out of your pocket.
Hand out of your pocket.
But the stun gun failed to fire, and in the end, he was never charged with a crime and left the scene. Nearly 2 weeks later, he stopped again, this time accused of trying to steal a flat-screen TV. He agrees to plead guilty and is put on probation.
We see a common process in almost every one of these cases. You have a victim shot dead in the streets, and give it a few days, and suddenly you start seeing images of that victim casting a light as a criminal.
These are unrelated to what happened here in February, when authorities say he was chased and killed by Travis McMichael and his father, Gregory, who worked for the Glenn County Police more than 30 years ago. Arbery's family says he regularly jogged through the neighborhood. The McMichaels told police he looked suspicious when they saw him here, walking through a construction site a few doors down, and say they were trying to make a citizen's arrest. The family who owns the home being built has now shared these other security camera videos showing, for example, a white couple who came at night and children during the day, who the McMichaels never chased and who certainly weren't killed.
And let's bring in Steve Osinsami. Steve, could this video that we just saw be relevant at all to the criminal trial against the McMichaels?
Well, the McMichaels' lawyers are certainly going to argue so. They're going to argue that, at least in one of the videos, you see this young man who's being accused in that moment of stealing a TV from a Walmart. But, you know, the important thing to underline is that none of this was really known well to the McMichaels at the time of the shooting. And there are a lot of people who would argue that none of it matters, that this often happens in these cases where first the person is unjustly killed and then unjustly demonized afterwards. Lindsay?
Good point. Okay, Steve Osinsami, thanks so much for your reporting. And we still have a lot more to report here on ABC News Prime. Body cam showing the now deceased husband of a mother of two children who've been missing for 6 months is raising new questions. Plus, record rainfall across the Midwest. A look at the efforts to get that flooding under control. But first, our post of the day. The choir that sang at Harry and Meghan's wedding is paying tribute to that ceremony 2 years ago today.
In times like these, the news-making events happen here. ABC News.
President Trump meeting face-to-face with one of the world's most brutal dictators, Kim Jong-un.
The president.
You trust him? I do trust him, yeah. I think he trusts me, and I trust him.
Ivanka Trump.
I have to ask you about your emails. Your father had taken Hillary Clinton to task for this.
There just is no equivalency.
So the idea of lock her up doesn't apply to you?
No.
Comey.
How strange is it for you to sit here and compare the president to a mob boss?
Very strange.
Michelle Obama.
What do you wish you could tell your pre-White House self?
Whew.
Melania Trump.
Do you think there's still people there that he can't trust?
Yes.
Still working now?
Yes.
Michael Cohen.
So he's still lying?
Yes.
It's a big statement.
And now, in a year with so much on the line, we're right there.
Good evening tonight from Washington, a very busy news night.
America's #1 news source, ABC News, straightforward.
We all need someone who'll pull no punches and give it to us straight. No bull, no spin. Now imagine getting your news like that. Just give it to me straight. ABC News, straightforward.
What's the most innovative daily news podcast out there to listen to every day? Well, the Edward R. Murrow Awards say it's Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. Even the New York Times calls us a top news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, free on Apple Podcasts.
Welcome back, everybody. Working from home is certainly a new way of life for so many of us. And some companies are now saying that this life-altering trend could last for months, possibly even years. We take a look by the numbers. Today, Visa said that they expect most of their nearly 20,000 employees to continue working from home through the end of 2020. Tech giants like Google and Facebook have said the same. Going even further, Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey told his 5,100 employees that most could work from home permanently. 89% of San Francisco Bay Area CEOs say that they plan to transition to at least partial remote work policies, even as the country begins reopening. But not everyone has this luxury. Only about 37% of all jobs can actually be performed from home, according to the University of Chicago. And those jobs tend to pay more. 75% of employees who work from home earn more than $65,000 a year. As more Americans work remotely, we may see a flight from expensive cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, which were already losing population well before this crisis. And we still have a lot more to get into tonight. Battling addiction during a pandemic. We examine the struggle faced by so many. And President Trump threatening to cut off funding for the World Health Organization, what that may mean for the global fight against COVID-19. But first, here's some of the trending stories on abcnews.com.
Seeing right now, this is part of the eye wall.
This procession of migrants goes back 2 miles.
There is going to be catastrophic damage.
This fire has made a run. You can see those flames shooting up into the sky.
We are on the jam-packed red carpet.
To the right, guys.
So this is the 4th weekend of protests.
Watch ABC News on location for Facebook Watch.
What's the most innovative daily news podcast out there to listen to every day? Well, the Edward R. Murrow Awards say it's Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. Even the New York Times calls us a top news podcast worth listening to. So if you like getting behind the biggest news stories of the day, inside all the details, the backstory, and what will happen next, then listen to Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. It's like no other news podcast out there. Even the critics agree. Listen free on Apple Podcasts.
This is what being live is all about. This is ABC News Live, the 24/7 streaming news source from ABC News. Breaking news, live events, streaming nonstop. Original breakthrough storytelling from ABC News, National Geographic, ESPN, and it's all designed differently for you to stream straight to any screen whenever you want.
ABC News Live.
Streaming everywhere, right to you. ABC News Live. It's that easy to go there.
The Americans here on the ground and the Iraqis. 18,000 tons. Patatas. Ismail? David.
Over ground zero from Hurricane Michael.
You can see just home after home.
David, nice to meet you.
This was your view.
My favorite view.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
of the country, 49 states have now eased restrictions, though cases are still rising in at least 11 states. On Monday, Texas moving into stage 2, reopening gyms 2 days after marking its highest one-day increase in cases.
When we increase testing in hotspots, the number of people testing positive is going to spike. Usually within a week or two, the flare-up is contained.
But some businesses and individuals are getting restless, ignoring ongoing restrictions. This Ohio restaurant cited for social distancing violations. This New Jersey gym cheered as it reopened before getting state approval. Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker urging everyone to remember the pandemic is not over.
At some point, there will be treatments and ultimately a vaccine.
Promising early news from biotech company Moderna. During the first phase of their vaccine's human trials, the experimental drug so far showing promising signs that it's safe and effective. Results suggesting the study's volunteers developed a level of antibodies capable of protecting them from infection. The company now heading into phase 2, testing about 600 patients. Phase 3 expected to start in July, testing as many as 10,000 people.
At a White House event for farmers and ranchers, President Trump announcing a new food assistance program meant to shore up the country's food supply and keep meat prices down for American consumers.
Through this effort, we are providing $19 billion to support our nation's agricultural producers.
Members of the Senate Banking Committee are asking Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin where the loans are when it comes to small businesses.
The hearing came as a congressional oversight group revealed this week that the Treasury Department has only allocated a fraction of funds meant to help businesses and local government.
$200 billion in credit support under the CARES Act. We have the remaining money to create or expand these programs as needed.
But Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell offering a different take.
And the question looms in the air of, is it enough?
WHO remains fully committed to transparency, accountability, and continuous improvement.
The European Union is urging all countries to back the World Health Organization after President Trump threatened to permanently cut ties with the UN agency.
They have to clean up their act. They have to do a better job. They have to be much more fair to other countries, including the United States, or we're not going to be involved with them anymore. We'll do it a separate way.
Tweeting a 4-page letter attacking the World Health Organization, claiming it has shown an alarming lack of independence from China.
And now to the newly obtained footage tied to the mystery of 2 siblings who have been missing now for more than 6 months. Their mom, Lori Vallow, faces multiple charges related to their disappearance and maintains her innocence. But in the new video, Vallow's late husband is seen on police body camera telling officers his wife had gone crazy and threatened to kill him, and expresses concern she may hurt the children. ABC's Juju Chang has more on the latest developments in a baffling case.
She's not here. She lost her reality.
That's the voice of Charles Vallow, the now deceased husband of Lori Vallow, speaking to Gilbert, Arizona police in January of last year.
We've been at a great marriage. All of a sudden, the last month, it just blew up.
In this body camera video obtained by ABC News, Charles accuses his wife of behaving erratically, withdrawing large amounts of money, even threatening to kill him.
I will kill you because you're not Charles, and nobody will care.
Okay, so she at this point doesn't think you are her husband?
She thinks I'm Mick Schneider.
Who's Mick Schneider?
I have no idea. Okay. It's the name she used. I don't know where it came from.
Okay.
I'm just like, I'm as bewildered as you are.
Authorities issued an order for Lori to receive a mental health evaluation. But according to a police report, when she visited officers the next day, she was allowed to drive herself to the hospital with a friend. And the officers wrote, "During my conversation with Charles, I found his demeanor to be strange for a person in his circumstances. He seemed more concerned with asking questions about the legality of financial withdrawals Lori had made than her alleged incoherence." 6 months later, Charles Vallow was shot and killed by Lori's now deceased brother, which police are investigating as self-defense. Lori was remarried to Chad Daybell, an Idaho preacher who spoke about near-death experiences and the end of days.
All right.
Lori Vallow is now awaiting trial for the disappearance of 2 of her children, 7-year-old J.J. Vallow and 17-year-old Tylee Ryan, who haven't been seen alive since September, just weeks before Lori and Chad's beachside wedding in Hawaii. The newlyweds left for the island after a court ordered Lori to produce the children, which she has not done.
Our thanks to Juju, and we should note that ABC News obtained the footage in that story through the Freedom of Information Act. Lori Vallow's attorney told ABC that the release of the video could be construed as a tactically timed release in an attempt to control the narrative. They urge law enforcement to make public all of their findings in this case. Record rainfall in parts of the Midwest is causing flash flooding. Cincinnati saw nearly 2 inches of rain yesterday, while Columbus topped that mark, and more rain is in the forecast. Several rivers in the region are approaching the major flood stage. Flash flood watches remain in effect across 7 states from Ohio to the Carolinas as the system stalls, moving slowly from the Midwest into the mid-Atlantic. Over the next couple of days, the heaviest rain will shift from the Ohio Valley into parts of the Carolinas, with more flooding expected. And now to the mysterious illness impacting children that may be COVID-19 related. Tonight, officials in Baltimore, they're reporting the death of a 15-year-old from that inflammatory syndrome. The mother of the teen says that she went to the hospital with a stomach ache, but then things quickly went downhill. She later tested positive for COVID-19 antibodies. Doctors are now reporting more than 200 cases of the syndrome across 25 states. Now to our continued look at mental health this month, with a specific focus tonight on another disease, addiction. You're about to hear from some men and women who will tell you that treating addiction is a team effort, but the pandemic's sidelining effects have made their daily struggle to stay sober all the much more difficult. So how does it all work, and can you recognize if you're becoming addicted to something? Our Dan Harris has more.
On a sunny day in Columbus, Ohio, 47-year-old Brian Strohacker takes a stroll through the park. It's part of his daily morning routine, one of the few things that has remained constant since he got sober 8 months ago.
And I'll take a good hour outside, and if I'm feeling any certain way, then again, I can come back to my house with 3 other like-minded people, and I can have a conversation if necessary.
Brian spent nearly 6 months at a treatment center in Columbus, Ohio, called the House of Hope, which specializes in helping people with drug and/or alcohol dependence. Now Brian lives with 3 other men who are also in recovery. He says that type of fellowship has been a major part of his rehabilitation, from a life of addiction to cocaine, alcohol, and marijuana.
There are meetings that I go to where I can go out and talk to other people like me, other addicts, other alcoholics, and share our experiences and kind of feed off of each other.
David Andy, who's now a peer recovery supporter at House of Hope, had a difficult journey with opioid addiction.
The length of time that I was using was the more serious substances, about 10 years. It started off with painkillers, and that was about 8 years. And then towards the last 2 years of my addiction, I went on to more serious substances, which was fentanyl.
I started using opiates when I was 17 years old. Started using heroin when I was 17 years old, and I used heroin for 11 years.
Todd Henson and his girlfriend Amanda Thomas credit residential treatment to lifting them out of the grips of opioid addiction as well.
I stayed there for 4 years. I had a whole lot of trauma in my life that I needed to work through. I learned a lot about myself and the feelings that I have.
They really gave me a lot of tools to live my life in very healthy ways.
But when the coronavirus pandemic hit, it brought with it societal changes such as social distancing and isolation, completely upending many models of treatment that center around socializing.
And that's changed drastically because we don't have that touch that we like. I mean, it's when I say a fellowship, it's really like a new family for me.
In 2018, nearly 22 million Americans, 1 in 13 of us, needed substance abuse treatment, but only 3.7 million people actually received treatment that same year. The numbers show that sobriety can be hard to maintain. More than 60% of people who've been treated for substance abuse disorders relapse within a year of completing treatment. Many in recovery often rely on in-person community meetings like Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, which have largely now gone virtual. Addiction expert Jessica Halsey says right now can be a very destabilizing time for anybody in recovery.
The pandemic's shutdown requirements mean that those individuals who have a substance use disorder who are in recovery are losing access to their support systems. That's really part of their recovery support to keep them healthy and connected to other individuals, which is very, very challenging.
And with the risk of relapse heightened, those challenges can be very difficult for some. Reports of overdose deaths have been spiking in some areas. Tommy Begress, a paramedic from just outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan, has witnessed the effects firsthand.
We have seen an increase in overdose toxic events or accidental overdoses because of the recent changes in prescribing habits, because there had to be alterations made to accommodate for social distancing. And I think it's important to understand that even if a patient has been in treatment, when they're cut off from that treatment, those withdrawal symptoms are still going to come back for many of those, and they're going to find a way to self-treat those.
It's important to remember that addiction is a chronic brain disease where users continue to engage in compulsive behavior despite the harmful consequences. Your brain rewards healthy behaviors like exercise or eating by switching on feel-good brain circuits and releasing a chemical called dopamine. When you're in danger, your brain sends your body into survival or fight or flight mode, releasing a chemical called epinephrine, also known as adrenaline. This system of brain chemistry reinforces behaviors associated with rewards and prevents behaviors leading to pain. Addiction happens when that natural wiring of your brain begins to actually work against you. Substances such as drugs, alcohol, sugar, and tobacco activate the reward system, giving you the sensation of being rewarded, which leaves you craving more and more. From illicit drugs like fentanyl and heroin, to cigarettes, to overeating and gambling. Addiction experts say it is in times of heightened stress, and a pandemic certainly qualifies, when our brain could be triggered to return to those habits.
One of the top 3 predictors of relapse is stress, and I would include in that anxiety. And I certainly see this clinically. You know, my patients are most likely to relapse when they've had a major stress, or they've lost a job, or they've gone through a relationship breakup. On a population level, we all probably have a certain amount of anxiety. And once you go over some threshold, that anxiety can lead to somebody using a substance or relapsing or starting to learn to drink more when they hadn't been drinking that much before.
According to a recent poll, 56% of Americans say COVID-19 has had a major impact on their lives, from record-breaking job losses to forced isolation and a rising death toll. The coronavirus pandemic has brought all of our lives to a screeching halt.
Whether it's people who've been suffering with addictions, their addictions getting worse, or people who haven't suffered with addictions starting to form, habits or addictions, everything from things that seemingly are benign. They look back 2 weeks later and they've been drinking several drinks every day, and hadn't done that before, but it's just their new habit, because they don't know how else to deal with the stress.
According to Dr. Judson Brewer and many other experts, practicing mindfulness can bring awareness to how moments of indulgence can drive our behavior.
When we see how these habits are formed, we can specifically see how mindfulness jumps in there and targets those mechanisms, both through formal mindfulness practice, through meditation, and also through informal mindfulness practice. So in that moment, paying attention.
Back in Ohio, David practices mindfulness meditation to stay on the road to recovery.
I pray when I get up in the morning. I meditate. I have this morning routine that I was doing even before the pandemic started. Like a lot of us in recovery do. I know the guys here in my recovery residence that they practice it. That has been number one for me, is prayer and meditation.
Todd and Amanda say the habits they've been working on for years are helping them keep up their sobriety even during these wrenching times.
If I put one foot in front of the other and just recognize these little rewards, these little things, and be grateful, along the way, then these rewards or this deferred gratification is going to have a lot more longevity. It's going to be something I could hang on to for a long time, maybe even forever.
For those who think they may need help and don't know where to begin, there are tools available to start the process of recovery today.
Google can be your friend. I know even for me, I'm used to going to 12-step meetings. And one way that I find the online AA meetings is through Google. And I thank God, for these online 12-step meetings. The only difference, it makes it not being the same as just the face-to-face and social interactions. I still get a lot out of these meetings.
Thankfully, with technology, the different communication apps, the different meeting apps that we're fortunate enough to have access to, we can still get out and do a lot of the same things, if not all of the same things that we were able to do before. And then that's something I'm really grateful for.
Give yourself a chance, and you might like the person that you become.
And Dan Harris joins us now. Dan, certainly an important story anytime, but especially now. And Dr. Brewer, who you talked to in that piece, he really talks about addiction as a spectrum. Explain that concept to us.
You can think about it, as you said, like a spectrum, as he talks about it. One end, you have hardcore addictions, but we're all somewhere on the spectrum. Maybe we're in the middle with just a little bit too much eating when we're stressed or checking our phone too much. And when you add an enormous amount of stress and anxiety into the system, it can move many of us down the spectrum toward the hardcore addictions.
And he talks about, as far as treating his patients, using mindfulness and meditation. How does that work?
Okay, so you can think about mindfulness or meditation as a way to kind of get you out of your head, to get you into your body in some way. So you have somebody, he will have his patients focus on the feeling of their breath coming in and going out, or just on the feeling in their feet. It's just a way just to get you out of the swirling stories in your head. And that can then give you some distance from your urges and emotions. Well, it really does two things. One is it calms you down. There's physiological positive response when we stop thinking for just a second, even though you're going to get distracted a bunch, but you will stop thinking just a little bit. And the other is that it gives you a chance to really investigate how your mind works. And when you see the wildness of your own mind, then it doesn't own you as much.
And you and I have talked about that before, and it makes sense, like when it comes to stress and de-stressing, but is it really going to stop you from getting another drink or looking at your phone again?
He's got a lot of evidence to suggest that it really does, and he's been working with patients for many years on this. Think about addiction as really, as he described in that piece, a bad habit. So it's all about habits, and you can think about habits as a habit loop. This is the way he describes it. So it's got 3 steps. The cue, so something happens in your life that's stressful, that's the cue. Then there's a routine, so something stresses you out, and then you launch into a habitual routine. Maybe you eat a bunch of Oreos, or you have you drink a bunch of beer. And then the third is the reward. When you have sugar or alcohol, it can trigger the pleasure centers in your brain. What happens with meditation is the cue hits, something stresses you out, and instead of launching blindly into the routine, you might pause, take a breath, get out of your head and into your body, and let the urge come and go, and then you can make a wiser decision. Do I need to eat this thing right now? Do I need to drink this thing? And that's how you break that cycle.
I saw a meme the other day. It was intended to be funny, and it was of like a giant football stadium packed with people, and it said Alcoholics Anonymous for 2021. What about good old-fashioned group therapy and talking? And people who normally would go to Alcoholics Anonymous, are they still Zooming? And how important is that to be able to talk to somebody?
Therapy, I mean, look, Dr. Brewer is really focused on both. He does a lot of teaching his patients how to meditate, but he also does talk therapy, and that's incredibly powerful. And he's become increasingly convinced that you can do that virtually. You can do it over Zoom, even over text. But here's the problem. Even before the pandemic, BC, before Corona, as Dr. Brewer refers to it, people didn't have enough access to mental health care. And now we're heading into a true global mental health emergency, and people are really not going to have enough access to this. I think this is the quiet pandemic.
Dan Harris, good to lay eyes on you. Thank you, and we'll be right back.
Right now, how do you make sense of it all? Now, afternoons on ABC, one place with the good information you need.
We are all in this together, and we're going to get through this together.
Pandemic, what you need to know. Afternoons at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific on ABC. Friday nights, 9, 8 Central. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt. True Crime 2020. Friday nights, 9/8 Central on ABC.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness doesn't have to be. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
ABC News honored winner of 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards, including the most prestigious honor, Overall Excellence in Television. ABC News, America's #1 news choice.
This is what being live is all about. This is ABC News Live, the 24/7 streaming news source from ABC News. Breaking news, live events, streaming nonstop. Original breakthrough storytelling from ABC News, National Geographic, ESPN, and it's all designed differently for you to stream straight to any screen whenever you want.
ABC News Live.
Streaming everywhere, right to you. ABC News Live. It's that easy to go there.
ABC News, America's #1 news source. Straightforward news, straight to the heart of the story. ABC News, straightforward.
Welcome back. Annie Glenn, the wife of late astronaut and Senator John Glenn, has passed away. Glenn shied away from media attention when her husband became the first American to orbit the Earth, mostly because she had a challenge with stuttering. But she overcame her stutter and became an advocate for those who have trouble communicating, speaking publicly, and inspiring others across the world. She was married to John Glenn for 73 years and was a constant source of strength for him. She died of COVID-19 complications at 100 years old. And before we go tonight, as so many people are forced to stay away from their loved ones out of fear of infecting them, one woman, well, she got really creative and found a way to give her mother a long-awaited hug. Take a look at this.
Mom! Oh my God! I get to hug you.
There she is, dressed in a sterilized hippo costume to visit her mom at a Virginia retirement home. A very happy reunion. There must be some significance behind that hippo. That is our show for this hour. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us, and good night.